Hello, and welcome to another episode where we come together to learn. It's a real pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. I just want to give a quick shout out to what happens behind the scenes. We get thoughtful responses from listeners throughout the week, and it's really special to see this little learning community forming around our weekly sessions. So thank you again, and as always, feel free to share your thoughts and dive deeper into the conversations we begin here.
Maybe it's worth reminding those joining us for the first time, what we do here is take a second look at familiar moments from the weekly Torah portion. Or maybe more than a second look. We try to go deep, beneath the surface, to uncover the voice behind the Pesukim, and then just simply ask, how does this speak to our lives?
That's exactly it. You know what? I really liked what we started doing last week. Skipping the small talk, all those casual news references.
You like that?
Yeah, I figured we'd drop that part and just dive straight into the core of the Parsha.
Perfect. So maybe we'll try, Bleenetter, to stick with that approach going forward, like a quiet, unofficial rule for our learning. We gather here to dive into the Parsha, not the headlines.
Right, even though sometimes the Parsha topics actually connect really strongly to
what's happening now? Totally.
That's exactly what the Baal HaTanya taught. He introduced the idea of lichyot im hazman, living with the times. He showed how the Parsha of the week is never random. It opens up keys for spiritual growth, including how to understand and respond to current events, but from the inside out.
Okay, then, let's get into it.
Today, we're diving into one of the Torah's most mysterious and complex characters, Bilaam, son of Beor. On one hand, Bilaam the wicked, the man who tried to curse Israel. On the other hand, a prophet who speaks directly with Hashem. He declares again and again that he cannot say anything other than what Hashem puts in his mouth. So, let me ask, how do we reconcile those two sides?
Hold on, you're jumping to the end. Let's build the story step by step. Let's go back. Here's the setup. Balak, king of Moab, wants to hire Bilaam to curse the people of Israel.
What, does Bilaam run some sort of prophetic cursing agency? Funny, but not far off. Balak turns to the man with a reputation for curses and divine rage. That's the image of Bilaam we inherit, especially once we know how the story ends. Despite multiple attempts, Bilaam tries to curse Israel. He just doesn't succeed. As Moshe puts it later, "But Hashem loved you and turned the curse into a blessing." Still, we get a full Parsha where Bilaam repeatedly tries to curse. That cements his place as one of the villains.
But here's what I'm wondering. If we read the plain story, the pshat of the psukim, do we really meet Bilaam as a clear villain from the outset?
What do you mean?
Look at what Bilaam actually says to Balak's messengers. He tells them his answer depends on what Hashem tells him that night. Here's the pasuk. "Spend the night here, and I will report back to you as Hashem speaks to me." And then Hashem tells him, "Do not go with them. Do not curse the nation, for they are blessed." So Bilaam complies. He says to Balak's messengers, "Return to your land. Hashem has refused to let me go with you."
And it happens again. Balak sends more important messengers, and Bilaam replies, "Even if Balak gives me all the silver and gold in his house, I cannot transgress the word of Hashem to do anything, small or great."
That's exactly the point I struggle with. Why does the Torah include all these statements from Bilaam saying how obedient he is to Hashem's will? If he's ultimately condemned so harshly, why does he end up labeled a wicked man?
And not just labeled. Remember, he's not just some pagan sorcerer. According to the Sifri, Bilaam was the greatest prophet among the nations. The pasuk says, "Never again did there arise a prophet in Israel like Moshe." And the Sifri adds, "In Israel, not in the nations. Among the nations there was one like Moshe, Bilaam, son of Beor."
All the more reason for the question. How can Pirkei Avot call him Bilaam Harasha, Bilaam the wicked? How can it draw a clear line between the disciples of Abraham Avinu and those of Bilaam the wicked if Bilaam keeps insisting he only does what Hashem tells him to do?
So here's a thought I want to offer. It connects to the very same chapter in Avot, just 2 Mishnayot earlier.
I'm listening.
There's a Mishnah that lists 10 things created be'erev Shabbat, bein hashimashot, on the eve of the first Shabbat, at twilight. And one of those things is the mouth of Bilaam's donkey, pi ha'aton.
Now that's strange. Why does a donkey need a mouth? Why was that so urgent to create a talking donkey at the final moments of creation?
Yeah, that's a question. And here's the answer I want to suggest. This moment, when Hashem opens the donkey's mouth, it's not just a dramatic plot twist. It's the moment of truth. It's not just a turn in the story of Balak hiring Bilaam. It's a turn in Bilaam's inner world.
Because of the parallel, right? Bilaam keeps saying, I cannot transgress the word of Hashem. And then the pasuk says, and Hashem opened the donkey's mouth. 2 mouths, 2 speakers. One has no will of her own, the donkey, and the other claims to be obedient, Bilaam.
Exactly. But here's the deeper point. When Hashem opens the donkey's mouth, we suddenly see the truth about Bilaam's own mouth. Despite all his declarations, Bilaam chose from his own free will to go with the Moabite officers with intent to curse, harm, and destroy.
But wait, how do we know that was his intent? Didn't we just say, Hashem, let him go? Kum, lechitam, get up and go with them. If Hashem said yes, why is Bilaam blamed?
So that's where the Vilna Gaon and the Malbim come in. They note the crucial difference between lech itam and lech im. It's important to clarify something here. There's with in the simple neutral sense, itam, and then there's with in the deep identifying sense, im, full alignment with the purpose for which one was asked to go.
Right, so when the Torah says, go itam, it means you may go alongside them, but you're not supposed to be with them. In heart, in will, in goal. But when Bilaam chooses to go im, the princes of Moab.
Exactly. While Hashem's command was, go itam, go alongside them, with them as in externally, but don't align your heart, don't share their purpose, speak only what I command. But Bilaam couldn't help himself. He wanted to go. So he didn't just go itam, he went im with them. And that's when the donkey intervenes.
That's when the story turns. All of Bilaam's repeated lines, the word Hashem puts in my mouth, that shall I speak. I cannot go beyond his word. Whatever he tells me, that I will do. All of that starts to sound very different once the donkey speaks.
Because now we realize even a donkey can speak divine words if Hashem opens its mouth. Bilaam's speech wasn't evidence of holiness. It was evidence of being used as a mouthpiece.
And while his inner will, his real desire, was to curse, he went im, not just itam. That's the gap, the tragic gap between speech and will.
And that's why pi ha'aton had to be created be'erev Shabbat, bein hashimashot. Because it doesn't come against the backdrop of a plot moment. It's a moment of revelation. It's a mirror. It forces Bilaam to see himself from the outside. He's not a prophet in control. He's a mouth, like the donkey. And unlike the donkey, he wanted to curse.
So when the donkey speaks, it actually silences Bilaam. I'll say it this way, pi ha'aton opens to close pi Bilaam.
Perfectly said. You know, it says, in the way a person wants to go, they lead him. Bilaam had a choice, and he chose evil. That was his decision, and Hashem did not stand in his way. But now Bilaam understands, if even the donkey, just an animal without the power of human speech, if even she opens her mouth and speaks because that's what Hashem wants, then my intention, I, Bilaam the wicked, my will to curse Israel won't succeed. And I must do Hashem's will and speak a blessing.
Listen, let me tell you something. That's a message Bilaam got straight in the face.
Boom. So what do you think we can take from all this?
Maybe it's not enough to say the right things. Even if you get to hear the divine voice, it's not enough to just hear it. The real question is, where are you actually going? With whom are you walking? And what do you really want?
Exactly. We live in a world where Hashem's will is revealed to us through Torah and mitzvot, Torah v'mitzvot. It's not enough to live in some abstract realm of a general divine will. It's also not enough to express that will just with words, with lips. There's machshava, thought, and dibur, speech. But we have to get to a full alignment in ma'aseh, in action.
Wow. Let's ask our listeners, what's your takeaway? What insight are you walking away with? With them. We're back to the eam again, huh? You're identifying with this. Maybe the lesson is, if you're not ready to truly listen, sometimes it takes a donkey to speak to you.
Here, I'll leave you with a thought. Nice lips don't necessarily mean a clean heart. Look at Bilaam.
He used his obedience to Hashem's commands, his loyalty and supposed submission to divine will, to serve the opposite agenda. You can speak in the name of values and still not be motivated by them.
What stayed with me is the idea of the mirror that's placed outside of you. We all have moments like that, where only a reflection from the outside exposes the truth inside. Bilaam didn't wake up when the angel blocked his path. He woke up when an animal, a creature far beneath him in every way, held up a mirror and made him see the raging storm in his own soul.
Don't forget, Bilaam spoke because he was a prophet, but the donkey spoke because Hashem opened her mouth.
Wait, but a prophet also speaks because Hashem opens his mouth?
True, but with Bilaam, it was revealed that there was a gap between his speech and his will. With the donkey, no gap. She spoke the truth that she saw.
So there are people who do what Hashem expects of them, but they do it dragging their feet without faith.
Unfortunately for them. Let's stay far away from the disciples of Bilam Harasha, he who blesses with his mouth, but whose heart is elsewhere. And let's be among the disciples of Avraham Avinu, who didn't get dragged into doing good, but awakened within himself a desire to fulfill the will of Elohim with all his heart.
Ooh, what a powerful conversation. Thank you for all these insights. I'm sure our listeners will have a lot to say after this.
Excellent. We'd love to hear from you guys. So, Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Thanks, and Shabbat Shalom, friends.
Alrighty.